last time you looked back on a conversation and wished that it had gone differently? Can you all think of a moment in the recent times where you replayed that conversation in your mind and you would have said something completely different? Show of hands. We've all done it. It could have been in your professional life. It could have been with a prospective customer. It could have been with your partner, one of your kids, someone in your personal life. But what we all know is that there are times when we could have chosen our words better. We could have prepared better for an interaction, a conversation, so that we could get the opportunity to improve our lives or improve the lives of others in some way. And look back on that conversation and know that you did your best. Now, I'm going to introduce to you today 4 cornerstones, 3 pillars, and 2 questions. And you don't need to remember them all because they are all on here. And if you'd like one, you get a sheet at the end for you to take away with you. So it's a very practical session, because what I wanted for you, for everybody here, was that you come away not just with maybe a couple of notes, maybe it was very interesting, but something that you can actually go and put into action even today, so that you're more prepared for your conversations tomorrow. So I'm going to start with the first cornerstone. And hang on. First cornerstone. Ah, yes. The worst time to think of the thing you're going to say is in the moment you're saying it. So if you don't prepare for your conversations, how are you supposed to make them count? So as you write your to-do lists for every day, whether you do that the night before or on the morning of each day, are you actually thinking about the conversations, or are you only thinking about the tasks on your plate? So I would encourage you to start thinking about doing the work before the work and preparing for those conversations a little better. And that is the purpose of this sheet here. It is to plan your daily conversations in the best possible way and end your day knowing that you've taken advantage of all the opportunities in your life, whether it be work or whether it be home, to use the right words and to have better conversations. So that's cornerstone number 1. The worst time to think what you're going to say is in the moment you're saying it. The second cornerstone is curiosity is the fuel for great conversations. How often have you been in a conversation with somebody and they've jumped straight to advice mode or solution mode, and they haven't actually stood back and got to know you first? They haven't asked you questions. They've talked about themselves only, and they've shown no interest in you and understanding you better. Now, curiosity is the first corner of this little triangle down here. So these are the 3 pillars I'll be referring to. The first pillar being curiosity. When you're curious, you can become more certain. If you go into a conversation with certainty, it's ego. It's I know everything. I know you, without even having the opportunity to ask people questions and get to know them. So that is the first one, and that relates to curiosity is a fuel for great conversations. The third cornerstone is people do things for their own reasons and not yours. And so when you're in a conversation with somebody, again, you have to not always be thinking about yourself. You have to be staying in curiosity long enough that you're able to say these words. And these words are, because of the fact that you said. So you cannot offer a solution, advice, a product, or whatever until you're able to say those words, because they show that you have allowed them to speak and that you have listened and you've understood. And that is when you create empathy. When you create empathy, you become relatable, and that starts to build trust. The fourth cornerstone is the person asking the questions controls the conversation. So it's very easy to want to jump to solution mode, to be wanting to take action, to be wanting to ask somebody for the sale, or in a personal conversation to just bring them around to your way of thinking as soon as possible. But the more you stay in curiosity and then gaining empathy, you become relatable, and the outcome you're looking for is far more likely to happen. And by understanding that it's about them and not you, and showing that you understand them, and we call it you might have heard the show me that you know me, or the example of empathy being caring about what the people you care about care about. And that comes from an author called John Acuff. I highly recommend that you look him up. So the person asking the questions controls the conversation, and then on the triangle, the trust that you're building, you then can create a feeling of confidence in yourself so that you can have the courage to ask for the things that you want. And you can take action and encourage people to take action. So those are the 4 cornerstones. I'll go through them again. So the worst time to think of the thing you're going to say is in the moment that you're saying it. Curiosity is the fuel for great conversations. People do things for their own reasons and not yours. And the person asking the questions controls the conversation. So I'd encourage you to think about the questions that you could be asking of people. I would encourage you to be planning your conversations better. Thinking about the people in your day, even today, it could be for tomorrow. Who are you going to be interacting with? Is it a new customer? Do you have a meeting with a new prospect? Do you need to have a difficult conversation with a loved one? Do you have a teenager that doesn't open up very often and you need to have an uncomfortable conversation with them? If you think about those conversations before they happen, you're far more prepared for them and you'll achieve the outcome that you're looking for. So the final thing I said I was going to share with you was 2 questions. And these questions are questions to ask of yourself at the end of each day. So having planned your conversations, use these principles to really think back on and to plan those interactions, that you're thinking about how that actually went and you're reflecting on that. So the first question is, what did I like best about the interactions that I had today? How did they go? What worked well? What were the good parts? And list as many as you can, because I would always encourage you to be as positive as possible and pick out the good things. And then I'm not saying that you should pick out your weaknesses or what went wrong. But what I ask you to ask yourself is, what would I do differently next time? So this isn't you criticizing yourself. This is you using the lessons you learned from the conversations you had and how they turned out, and giving yourself the opportunity to improve in even a small way every single day. So ask yourself those 2 questions. And what I'd like to leave you with is, here is a way for you to actually plan those conversations each day. I invite you all to take a sheet. I have enough for everybody, I'm sure. And whether you do it here, whether you do it when you get back to the office, or whether you do it ready for tomorrow, is actually spend some time planning your conversations and also reflecting on how they went. And if you connect with me on LinkedIn, please let me know how that went. Let me know how you used it and how those conversations went. I'd love to hear about any successful conversations that you've had. And I'd like to leave you with a couple of thoughts. And that is to stop counting your conversations and start making your conversations count. Think about the quality of the conversations you're having rather than the quantity. If you've made 10 quality phone calls to prospects or leads today, that is way better than making 100 half-assed attempts. So I'd love for you to do that. And that if you change your words, you can change your world. Thank you very much. If you'd like a sheet, feel free to come to the front and grab one.
Just before we do that, has anyone got a question for Claire?
Claire, when you mentioned about almost asking for the sale, at what point do you really be comfortable enough? That's what I get stuck on personally. I agree with all the empathy stuff you're saying. You have to go down that road. Yep. But, you know, at what point do you ask for the sale?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are afraid to ask for the sale at the wrong point. And I think a lot of it is down to intuition. If you know that you've prepared for that conversation, you've done your research on that person, you've asked a lot of questions and you've kept asking and you kept asking. And I think, you know, any of those in the room who've done coaching, quite often it's not one question, it's multi-layered questions. And it's like, and what else? And what else? And why is that? And why is that? And the more you can stay in question mode, the more sure you will be. And that gives you the confidence to say, because of the fact that you said, I can now recommend this, this, and this. And it's that prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. If you know that you have found everything out about them, shown them trust, given them all of the information that they need to make a confident decision, you usually already know that you're ready to ask the question. And it is just having the courage to stay in that curiosity piece for as long as possible until everybody is sure. And then they won't say, I'm just going to go talk it over with my partner, which everyone knows is probably one of the most annoying objections that there is, because you're like, but what are they going to say? You know, what's that conversation going to consist of? So you want them to feel really confident and for you to feel really confident. I think you'll feel that, but yeah, stay in curiosity.
What else? But what's the way you talk about difficult questions? What's the most difficult?
That's a really difficult question. That one.
It's hard to think.
Oh, I think some of the most difficult questions or conversations are the ones that happen in your personal life. And I guess getting really personal, it's when you've got teenage kids, quite often those are some of the most difficult conversations that you can have, in that what you don't want to do is you're trying not to jump into advice mode, you know, too quickly. You're trying not to appear like you're telling them what to do, and you're allowing them to speak. So I know you've said difficult question. I guess a difficult question is, Mom, what do I do? And I think we've all, like many of us in this room, will have been in that sort of situation where you don't want to just give them the solution straight away. You want to allow them to kind of figure out the answer for themselves, but guide them along the process so they feel empowered to make that right decision. And to do that, again, you're asking questions. You're going into almost a coaching mode where you're, you know, so what do you think you should do? And what do you believe is the next step? And how would you feel if you did this? I think that it's what follows the question that really matters. And when it's someone that's really close to you and there's an emotional attachment, it's the questions that come from those people that are the most critical, I would say. I think you can always recover from a business conversation because there'll always be more opportunities. But when it's someone really close to you and you've got you know, it's an important relationship, your response to that is really critical. And I have a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old. And my 17-year-old, she really gets it. She really gets this work. She's actually spent time with one of our certified guides in the US. She did work experience there, which was an incredible opportunity for her. And particularly since she got back from there, she started to really understand the art of conversation. And one of the phrases in this little book, so this has 23 sets of words in it that will help with your conversations. It's a great prompt. Have anybody got an Audible credit that they haven't used? Yeah. If you have one and you feel like using it on this, it's very good as a listen, because if you're on your way to a conversation, it's just a reminder. And one of the sets of words in the book that that she has used on multiple occasions and been the best for her has been the words, help me understand. So if she's been having a discussion with her boyfriend, help me understand why you'd like to go and see that film instead of this film. Or she might be in a conversation with her careers advisor at school and say, help me understand the process of actually changing the subjects that I want to apply for at university. And she's showing that element of curiosity. And I'm like, I'm so proud. It's amazing. So my conversations with her and her seeing me having conversations are the really critical ones. And that is definitely the one. It's, Mom, what do I do? Without just giving the answer. That's my answer. Sorry, I kind of went round the houses, but it sparked off a whole little conversation in my own head. So thank you for that.
That is great. Thank you. Everyone, please give Claire a huge round of applause.
Thank you.